Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Eljay Johnsen Show. This show airs every single weekend, every Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you want any updates or guest announcements, head on over to Twitter at the Eljay Johnsen. And if you have any questions over the week, make sure you head on over to the email, eljayjohnsen@gmail.com. Remember, that's JOHNSEN. All right, great. We are back full swing. Perfect. All right, so let's waste no more time. Today, I am here to talk with someone who is a fan of LEGO and has a countering opinion to the opinion that we heard last week. Now, last week, we had someone on who was not a fan of licensed LEGO themes and did not believe them to be healthy in the quantity that they were in for LEGO. Today, we have someone who differs in that opinion and actually supports LEGO licensed themes. It is, of course, none other than Henry Bricklider. How you doing today?
I'm doing really well, LJ. How are you?
I'm doing well. Did I get that right? Did I get the name?
Yes, you did. You're
Oh,
good.
thank
Yeah.
goodness. Okay, good. Wanted to make sure. Uh, yeah. How are you doing? How's the weather been?
You know, the weather for Florida has been surprisingly miserably cold,
Ah,
and today was the first warmish day in the last week, so that's why it's nice. I went
well,
outside and
how
did
cold is
stuff.
cold?
Cold, like 30 degrees in the morning, and your car's got a light coating of ice.
Oh, I'm used to that. Okay. I mean,
Yeah, see,
it's a,
I'm ready. Yeah, it's
uh,
it's nothing compared to you, I'm sure.
it snowed this morning. There's still snow on the ground, so yeah.
I've at least got green grass and the sun shining with relatively clear skies.
Ugh. Listen, I grew up in California. I had that stuff all year round. It got so boring.
It's a little miserable sometimes. I do wish there was snow.
Yeah. Just come on up to Idaho. We got snow, we got potatoes, and that's it.
I like snow and potatoes.
Yeah. I was about to say, who doesn't like potatoes? But then I realized there might be people in this world that are allergic to potatoes, so they probably
Yeah,
don't.
fair point. Fair point.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and get into things. And Henry, just go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everyone how you got into Lego and how you got into the community and how you got to doing what you do now.
Awesome. So hello everybody. My name is Henry Bricklider, as LJ has already so well put. I am a almost an A-fall. I'm a T-fall, and I have been into Lego for I think about 11 years now. And very fitting to what we're talking about today. I was introduced into Lego through licensed themes, and a lot of my favorite properties, intellectual properties outside of Lego, were kind of introduced to me simultaneously with the Lego product. Star Wars being the first one. So I saw like the original trilogy, or just A New Hope, but then I also had the Lego Star Wars 2 video game and a couple sets. And then that was my first theme. And then I really got into Lego, I think, with Harry Potter, with the Hogwarts Castle from 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think that was the big Lego was amazing, because before that I had Batman and I had a little bit of Indiana Jones, but I don't wasn't into those things. And I had my grandparents sometimes build them for me because I was small. I was like 5 or 6 then. And but I remember getting Hogwarts Castle in like 2009 for that Christmas and spending the whole day building that set. And it was, I think that the moment that solidified Lego is like a hobby and thing I like. For the following few years, licensed themes were my priority, and my favorite interests: Toy Story. I really liked the Prince of Persia theme. Cars was cool because I was like 10. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, so I've always liked licensed themes, and I've loved Lego for a long time. And then I think about 2012, when Lord of the Rings came out, I got onto mock pages, and I built some cool Lord of the Rings mocks using the sets that had just come out. And that was really my first exposure to the community. And then recently, as you get older, your friends get different interests, and you're really the only one that it's as into Lego as they all used to be, and you still are. And so you don't have many people to talk to about Lego. So I stalked Eurobricks for a long time and followed forums and just read and listened to podcasts like the TTV podcast. I watched things like Just Too Good's videos, and just the Lego YouTube community I've followed for a long time but never been a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started my channel, I think 2 3 years ago, and I did not post a whole lot, but it was kind of a okay. Maybe if I start doing stuff, maybe I'll get into the community this way. Um, and I don't have a big following, and I'm trying to figure out my groove and what I want to do for my channel and for videos and things. But I'm certainly much more involved in the community on Eurobricks and on YouTube than I used to be. I mean, obviously, I got to be on your show, which is very cool.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be here, of course, and to talk about your point of view and your opinion. And I'm always happy to have people from all different branches of the community on. Like, I don't care about numbers. Like, my channel here, it's not very big, but that's fine. You know, if people are here and they're listening, and if people want to be on and discuss and talk, that's all I care about. And I think it's good that you're getting involved. Real quick though, I feel like a jerk because earlier we were talking before this started, and I mentioned the TTV podcast, and I didn't realize you've listened to it before. So I thought, oh yeah, podcast. I help host the TTV podcast. Maybe you've heard
Oh,
of it.
that's okay.
Like, great, you already listened.
Oh no, it's all good. No, that's such a fun channel and podcast.
It has the potential to be. No, I'm kidding. but
Clean house, right? Fix some things.
They're not listening. But so what do you do right now on your channel?
I've been doing Lego reviews. I did 2 haul videos just last week, I think, because I got some 2019 sets. I got 2 Overwatch sets, a couple Lego Movie 2 sets, and an Ninjago Legacy set. And those were just fun to do really quick. I'm currently writing something unlicensed themes, and it's kind of because of this topic and things popping up.
Mm-hmm.
And then listening to Nick on Planet Ripple's Lego Rewind kind of inspired me to talk about Lego through writing and stuff, primarily as a format, and just putting at least the dialogue and my writing onto YouTube so I can further elaborate on my thoughts and stuff, because I do a better job writing and expressing my thoughts out that way. So I'm thinking maybe doing like a audio focused video on reflecting on the license themes, and hopefully in the future a couple more. So I've been writing and working on that. I'd like to get that one put out soon.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's analytical content on Lego, I feel, is terribly not only underappreciated, but represented, I suppose, is the proper word to use. Like, there's not a whole heck of a lot of it, but when there is, it's really interesting. So that's a really good direction to be going in.
I think so too. I'm really looking forward to it. Problem is, I don't have a great editing software system, so it'd probably just be my audio, my voice, with some sort of caption, and not a whole lot of images and things, at least at the moment. Because I'm not the most tech savvy, so it'd just be like one of those you listen to, kind of like a podcast.
Okay. That's all right. Sometimes you can go one of 2 different ways. You can either have something that you intend people to listen to, or you intend people to watch. And both of those are perfectly acceptable, especially on the current YouTube landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness. There was something on the tip of my tongue I was going to say, but I cannot remember exactly what it was. Fudge. Okay. In any case, so you do reviews, you're getting up and oh, that was what it was. Great. Awesome. Shout out to Nick Anderson. His Lego Rewind series is phenomenal. Absolutely cannot recommend that enough. It is excellent. He does a wonderful job. Definitely should check him out. He also has a comic series, which is really good.
I'm really considering checking that one out. I watched his trailer for it, and it's really interesting sounding. I'm thinking about getting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's got some awesome stuff. I agree. Go check him out.
Yeah, he's great. Okay, so let's go ahead and get down to the meat and potatoes of this conversation. Last week I had somebody on, BB202, and he was of the opinion that licensed themes of their volume now are not a good thing for the Lego group as a whole. Where do you stand on this conversation?
I think that licensed themes, and I have a bias probably because that's what I grew up with, I think they have a instrumental value to Lego right now. And I don't think that they are in as high a volume as they were a couple years ago. And I think that if Lego just manages to strike gold with some other Big Bang property or one of their independent licenses, I think that it would help balance things out because at least as it stands right now, beginning of this year, we don't actually have that many licensed properties being produced as entire themes independently, like by themselves. Like there's not a whole theme dedicated to Incredibles 2 or a lot of the smaller Disney movies that are released. They're all just kind of under the Disney theme that Lego has.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's not as abundance that it used to be. Um, I don't know. I think that there's things that need to be fixed, but I don't think that cutting out licensed themes entirely, like it was mentioned before, like cutting out Lego Star Wars or superheroes is the way to go because if they step up their game, Lego could certainly do a lot better, and there's a lot of potential and merit there.
Okay. Now, last week, BB had declared that Lego Star Wars, and now this is not necessarily an unpopular opinion that I've heard, especially in my sphere. This is one that is generally regarded to be the distaste for Star Wars. Star Wars recycles a lot of concepts, they recycle a lot of builds, and a lot of model focuses. So you'll see a lot of different starfighters or X-Wings, see a lot of X-Wings, see maybe a couple of no, goodness, what are they? Not X-Wings. The other ones with the 6 wings from Attack of the Clones, or Revenge of the
Oh,
Sith.
the Republic, the attack. Oh no, what's the name of it? The Republic Starfighter?
I think.
I think that's it. Or it's the Arc 170. That's it.
Yeah, that was it. Yes. Okay, so you see
Useless
those
information
sprinkled
comes
in.
in handy.
Nice. Yeah, and you'll see a bunch of different TIE fighters and so on and so forth. And he doesn't like that because it's, it comes off as unoriginal and it's just recycling a bunch of models every so often, every few years. Where do you stand on that? And if you believe Lego can step up their game, then how would you recommend they do so?
So I think that Lego certainly recycles only certain ships from Star Wars very regularly. Case in point, the biggest example that came out this year was the uh, was it the clone? It was the AAT, I think, from Episode 3
Mm-hmm.
that just came out this year with the Kashyyyk troopers and stuff. I swear that we just. Oh yeah, it's the droid gunship and the AT-AP. I swear we just had sets of those not too long ago, and I think it was like 2012 or 2014 maybe. Then we had them last, and that's too recent to have a re-release such as that. Whereas a set that I personally really would like, the Tantive 4 or the Rebel Blockade Runner, which is better known name for it, has not been had an official release either in the UCS scale or in the regular system scale since 2009, which has been 10 years now. Which I think that if Lego, if they stepped at their game and released sets or models for Star Wars that were less often produced, I think that would make the recycling of items less obvious than I think it already is right now. Because I think that you should always have a Millennium Falcon or an X-wing on the market, just because that's what sells. And but I also think that Lego needs to continue to go back to their original trilogy and prequel trilogy properties, more so than the sequel trilogy, because admittedly, the sequel trilogy recycles a lot from the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And I could probably list a bunch of things if I had the time that Lego could re-release that they haven't in a while. Because there's a lot of stuff that they have done and haven't done in a long time that they could do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you believe that there are more things to pull from. There is still enough in the source material that they can pull from to make the portfolio interesting. But you also
Yes.
believe that they need to recycle because it keeps those designs modernized, updated within the headspace of builders and consumers because they're iconic. Well, they're just icons of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you want a bit of a balance in that instance. More of the original
I
stuff.
do.
Okay. And I think that's a reasonable desire to want. Now, that being the case, BB also broached that he felt builds in this day and age, especially with Marvel and DC superheroes, so maybe not so much Star Wars, and admittedly, I don't have a acquaintance with Star Wars minifigures. I'm not very well adept at discussing them because I don't have that familiarity. I don't buy Lego Star Wars. But at the very least, with DC and Marvel, the minifigures, in his opinion, the minifigures are being exchanged for the quality of the builds of the sets. As in, they are worse builds, however, you are getting better minifigures. However, that is not a worthy exchange to him. Where do you stand in that regard?
I'm probably a lot more negative than he is, actually. I think that in very recent years, DC Superheroes has been dropping the ball on both builds and quality of sets, as well as the quality of figures.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I don't think I bought any DC Superhero sets, which is a shame. I'd like to purchase more, but the theme is not great. There are minifigures that haven't had an update in years. Superman, case in point, and so you'll have a Superman figure in a pretty okay set, like the last year's Superman and Crypto team up. That's an okay build. It's cool to have a Lobo figure and a cool bike. That's an example where I think that for the most part that the build is fine, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that as a whole, a lot of the builds are generic helicopters or weird vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
and they're fine looking. I think for the most part, part wise, you can get some interesting things. But even on the side of figures, especially in DC, Lego certainly skimps out and doesn't give you updates of every character like I feel like they should.
Mm-hmm.
And Marvel superheroes is less egregious with this problem. Infinity War, I thought for the movie tie-in for those was a overall pretty good wave with, for the most part, pretty good figures. And I just think that Lego needs to, if they're going to have, focus on minifigures on these sets, and if they're going to compromise on the builds, then they need to just go all the way and wow us with minifigures every set.
Mm-hmm.
Because as it stands, they're not wowing me with either the build or the minifigures for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And that might also just be because I don't want a Batman in every single Lego DC superhero set I purchase.
Yeah.
But I think that that's a problem, and Lego needs to, and maybe this is a problem with DC, needs to somehow make Batman not the icon of DC superheroes, and make the actual DC universe and Justice League and characters, the focus together.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure that if they could, Batman and like other characters could sell just as well as Batman, I think.
I think it's certainly possible. In that same vein, how do you feel about DC and Marvel superheroes seemingly rebranding? While we obviously have sets like Captain Marvel and the Skrull Attack, for the cinematic stuff, it seems as though Marvel and DC superheroes, as we are familiar with them, have taken a bit of a back seat, with Marvel being rebranded or replaced entirely by Spider-Man, and DC, I mean, they just made it official. We all kind of saw it coming. It was just a bunch of Batman sets and the DC logo, but now it's just Batman. So how do you feel about the direction they have gone with that?
I don't like it, especially in the DC superhero section. It's just the Bat logo. That's all you see now for DC superheroes, which they might as well just rebrand it Batman again and just make it like 2006 all over again without any other superheroes if that's really what they want to do. I think that it's less concerning. Well, I don't know. I think I have a problem with ditching the superheroes logo because that makes me wary as somebody who's interested in characters other than Spider-Man and Batman. And it's like, okay, is it just going to be like a team up kind of situation for all these sets? Is it going to just be Batman and somebody and Spider-Man and somebody? Where with superheroes, at least there was the assurance that, hey, you'll get a lot of stuff from these different universes. But with that rebranding, I don't think it looks good for the future, especially with this last. Well, I guess, can you call this 2019 wave of Batman or superhero sets a wave because it's just two?
I
The Bat sub and the mech.
I need to go ahead and check real fast because I don't even. I remember. I thought it was 3. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Yeah. It's okay. Well, fudge. It's 3, but we haven't seen the third. So
right.
yeah, I. That's actually kind of a good point. I had never actually considered Because Spider-Man, Marvel, what have you, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you count Captain Marvel. And we have a whole buttload of stuff that we haven't seen for Endgame, Far From Home, and so on. And then DC got 2.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about DC's lineup for this year, and it's not looking good.
Interesting.
And I don't think it looked great last year either, though, despite a couple gems of minifigures that I have not gotten because I don't want the set.
Oh, last year we're looking at 15.
Oh, yeah, shoot. Look at that. We go from 15 to, so far, only 2.
Granted, in all fairness, I am taking that number directly from Brickset. Brickset lumps in polybags and exclusives, such as Black Lightning from Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con.
Right, I'm looking at that too. But now that I look at it, there was 3 sets in January last year for DC. But even then, they had a much better variety. The Lex Luthor Mech Takedown, for example, has some very nice new figures of Wonder Woman and Firestorm, as well as Cheetah and Lex Luthor. But that at least was like, okay, at least Justice League members. But as it looks right now, it's going to be Batman and maybe somebody else from the DC universe.
Yeah, no, it's pretty slim pickings. And I had not considered that when we found out because, again, I don't have a vested interest in DC. I have a slightly greater interest in Marvel, but it, set-wise at the very least. So do you believe that this might be caused by licensed fatigue? Do you believe that this lends credence to what BB was saying last week, where consumers are getting disinterested in the licensed themes, and this is putting LEGO in a poor position because they are putting so much emphasis and leaning so heavily into them that it might cause a bit of a drought if interest dries up?
I think that right now, with the current way that they're even producing stuff, it's causing this fatigue. And I think, especially with Batman, Lego Batman movie, came out in 2017, and I don't want anything to do with any Lego Batman right now because of that movie whatsoever. I have enough Batman stuff to last me for a while. And I think that there is a fatigue of specific characters, maybe. But like Star Wars, there is so much untapped potential for products and stuff that Lego has not considered. And I don't know if that has to do with their testing with kids and stuff that they're actually targeted for with what they want in sets. But I think that if there isn't already a fatigue, which there might be, at least in the realm of DC, with their kind of disappointing movies recently, compared to Marvel. Like I think the Infinity War stuff sold well. I think. Like, it was a big movie. It was a cultural kind of, like, impact, at least here in the U.S.
Oh, no, it globally. Like, it swept the rug under everything globally.
Right.
Yeah, no, it was a huge deal. I just don't know if that translated into Lego set sales.
I'd like to think it does. Because when I've checked clearance things and stuff, at least this last year, there has not been really any Infinity War things put out on shelves, let alone Marvel things that are left behind in things. And I can't say that the same for DC superheroes either, but I think that there's a Batman fatigue, at least, in the realm of DC, especially with Lego deciding to do 2 collectible minifigures lines with the Lego Batman movie, and then proceeding to follow up with more Batman and superheroes. And I think that there's a fatigue maybe for that, because as a comics fan, I want more from DC, Lego DC superheroes, that they're just not giving me. And so I think there is a fatigue, yes, and Lego needs to fix that with something.
Okay. Now, do you believe that this may impact the company as a whole? And do you believe that the solution may be for more original themes to fill that gap?
I don't know if it's a detriment to the company as a whole. I was looking at the sale, like the top 3 themes, or 4 themes of 2017, because that was the last real report we got.
We got 18s.
Did we?
Yes, we did.
I haven't seen 18's report.
Oh,
What
yeah.
are?
Sure. Let me.
Is it on Brickset?
I don't think. Fudge. Well, I have the picture because it was an infograph. Let me just dig that up real quickly. And it was really interesting too. It's a very fascinating infograph. If I can just hunt this Spud puppy down.
I guess I'll talk while it is. So I
Go for
think
it.
that Lego, in 2017, their revenue dropped a little bit for sure, and I think that it might be because of the reception. I think of their big movies. Ninjago movie didn't do very well, and Lego Batman movie underperformed, and I think that might be more of the cause for those two, rather than I think licensed themes as a whole. Um, because when you looked at 2017, their biggest sets were or themes were Ninjago, Technic, I think it was City, and like Duplo. And
Interesting.
if those were in the top four, then like there's obviously credence that like Lego's original properties still have a lot of value.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I guess that is more in favor of original properties over licensed themes. Now that I
Mm-hmm.
think about it, saying that out loud.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that Lego's licensed themes are going to be the one that the detriment to their revenues and things. Because if you look at Nexo Knights, as much as I liked that first wave, um, they're making it a Big Bang theme and having it so marketed with apps and games and things which are extra funds to promote it and stuff. I think that probably hurt it in the long run because those sets really didn't do so well later on down the line.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that maybe Lego needs to cut back on Big Bang themes as a whole because they obviously haven't found the next Ninjago yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that
I remember there was a time when people said the next Bionicle. Anyway, sorry, continue.
oh dear, poor Bionicle. I'm sorry.
But please continue.
But I think that Lego, I agree that they need to have a couple more original properties or in themes. I would, as somebody who likes classic castle and city and kingdoms and stuff, I wouldn't mind having a castle theme back
Mm-hmm.
to fill that because there is a void I think right now, especially in that era. But I don't think that Lego needs to make it a Big Bang theme and have it such a crazy marketing thing at the likes of Ninjago or Chima. And as we're going into the new year, there's not too many licensed themes that haven't already been lasting for a while and haven't already done well. And so I don't think that they're going to be a detriment to anything too soon. At least because I don't read reports and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't seem like a problem. Unless Star Wars. Well, Star Wars might be another thing, but that's another whole problem I think
Mm-hmm.
with just Disney's acquisition of it and treatment of the property.
Yeah.
But I think that properties like Minecraft, DC superheroes, and Marvel superheroes are not going to be the things that hurt Lego, and it's going to be them putting a lot of money into themes that really aren't connecting
Mm-hmm.
with their audience.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of merit to that stance. Very briefly, to bring relevance to the the sales chart that we mentioned earlier, I went ahead and I sent you a low-res version of it. But to really hit the main points, top 4 performing themes for the first half of 2018 were Lego Technic, Ninjago, Classic, and Creator.
Okay, I see that. Yeah.
Consumer sales were up plus 1%. Revenue was flat. Operating profit was up plus 4%. So, it's stuff like that. Now, Ninjago is a little bit of an unfair comparison to make to most things. Because obviously enough, it is just so massive. It is unfathomably huge. We are currently living in a time where we have the theme active. We don't understand truly how big that theme is. Like it stuns me when I think about
I
how
don't.
big Bionicle was,
Mm-hmm.
and Ninjago's bigger than that.
Wow, that's weird to think about.
Yeah.
Because I know that Bionicle, at least for the time, I wasn't into it, but from listening to you talk about it with TTV and stuff, that it was like a big cultural thing in Lego amongst like it had a huge following and community and stuff.
Oh yeah.
At least in
Yeah.
its golden age and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, easily. Bionicle was a huge theme. Where we're talking in its day, it was really big, and Ninjago, it isn't even close. Ninjago is so much larger.
Oh, okay. So looking back at the time when Bionicle was the big cheese of Lego and the biggest thing to have, that was basically the Ninjago of that time. Stuff that was coming out around the same time was Exo Force.
Oh
You
yeah.
had Knight's Kingdom and things coming out at about the same time. I think Lego needs to do that again. Have smaller things that don't need to be a gigantic multimedia elephant. I guess that's a word. I can't think of another word, but I
Hmm.
think that they need to focus on original properties that aren't as big as Ninjago because they're not going to be able to compete with themselves with a property like that.
Hmm. Okay,
And we
so
need more things like a smaller thing like an Exo Force or a Knight's Kingdom.
hmm oh gosh, I would be so down for Exoforce. Holy guacamole. I would oof. It would be difficult. The only restraint I would have would be the physical places that I would have to put them, because I wouldn't have any. So but yeah, I can see that perspective. So you are of the opinion that they should have smaller, maybe shorter run themes that are story driven and still creative enough to at least, carry them a little bit. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. And then also looking back at that time with licensed themes, um, we had maybe one or two at the time. Star Wars was the big one in the mid 2000s, and then Harry Potter was running consistently for a few years then, but that was like one or two things, right? And then Harry Potter left for a while, and then we had Indiana Jones, and then we had a couple other ones. And I think that maybe a solution to fixing this license theme fatigue is maybe not permanently. I don't agree with permanently taking out things like Marvel or DC, but maybe temporarily putting them up on the shelf
Mm-hmm.
and giving it time to create like a new revival for those things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I don't think that they've had a time where they can just kind of rest and regain interest in stuff for another group of kids and things.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Because Harry Potter had that, and I'll tell you what, when last 2 years or last year when Harry Potter came out, I was all for it and so excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a substantial break between the prior release of Harry Potter and this current one, and they just
Yeah,
massively overhauled the sets that they had.
Hogwarts Castle, those like three Harry Potter sets are so good,
Mm-hmm.
and
Excuse me.
I think that it helped that they had a break.
That's an interesting perspective. So you would not necessarily take the stance of permanently taking down stuff like Star Wars, like BB was recommending. I believe he was saying that if he had to choose between a Lego theme to remove permanently between the comics and Star Wars, he'd take down Star Wars because he found it to be the more egregious of the two. So instead of a permanent takedown, you would say give it a Harry Potter style break for about, you'd say, 5 to 10 years.
Probably, I don't think you should ever cut out Star Wars though, which I'm sure. As much as I agree with cutting Star Wars out, at least right now as it is, I don't think you can.
Do elaborate.
Because the thing is, Star Wars has run consistently for 20 years now, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't. And of course, I don't. I'm not a sales guy and stuff, but it feels like to me like it's never had a low point until recently,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's only because new content from outside of Lego for Star Wars has been produced, and I guess this is just another problem with Disney Star Wars that they need to take a break from what they're doing,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that their recycling of previous builds and things that Lego had been doing for 20 years now has worked for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember for the longest time I was not tired of Lego Star Wars. There wasn't not every set that was out I didn't like, but like every year there was something I looked forward to. Unlike recently, DC superheroes and Marvel I think could probably withstand that break,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially with how DC's doing right now with movies coming out recent and stuff. With they don't have like a regular yearly release schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it would them good to take a break and Marvel to do good. But I feel like Lego Star Wars is Lego's like life support, not life support, but just like a part of their themselves that they really can't cut out.
It's been so heavily involved for so long that it would seem unusual to you for them to just cut it for any length of time.
Yeah, I don't think Lego at now could like would be Lego without Star Wars, which is such an weird thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lego Star Wars, I look at as a separate entity from even Star Wars, just as a cultural icon, because I think that in the circles of Lego, it is something, and partly the way I grew up with Star Wars and Lego Star Wars, it is just a part of Lego's culture that I don't think you can cut out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense, but like it's
Mm-hmm.
just has been there, and to get rid of it is just weird.
I understand where you're coming from. Essentially, it would be similar to taking a break on Technic for a year.
Yes.
It's been such a cultural icon for Lego. The iconography is so strong, it would seem awfully peculiar to give it a break for any period of time.
Yes. Unlike DC and Marvel, I think that they could probably do with a good break.
Okay.
Like Batman from 2006, they took a break for a couple of years, for about 3 years, and then they came back with DC superheroes, and I think that did good for that
Mm-hmm.
brand, especially with including DC superheroes, like the whole DC universe in that. And I think they need to do that for those two themes. I'm not saying cut them out permanently, but they do need a break, unlike Star Wars. So if I had to cut one, I'd cut out Marvel, but temporarily, and bring it back in a couple of years.
Okay. Now, what would you do in the instance of the films? Since Marvel, obviously, is super big with the cinematic universe, and we already
Right.
know we're getting Lego sets for Endgame and Far From Home. Where would you make the cut, and would you keep the films?
I have a feeling that post Endgame, we're going to probably get that superhero fatigue from movies. And I think that's just the direction that a lot of the Captain Marvel does not look promising, I personally think. And I'm not very excited for Far From Home. The only thing I'm looking forward to is Endgame, and I'm sure that there's many people that could probably agree with that statement. And I think that post Endgame, you could cut it because I think that the saga of the MCU for the last 11 years now is done. And I don't think it'll ever be at the point it was, from 2012 to now. And I think you could take a break then. And maybe if there's a big, huge film that seems like it's going to do well, maybe put out one or two sets to tie in with it.
Okay.
But I think you could take a break from the comic-based things, certainly. Like, I don't need a comic book Spider-Man or Captain America set often, even though they don't do those a whole lot anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, this is a good opportunity to springboard from that into the quality of the sets. BB was making the claim that he feels that the licensed sets were making an exchange. They were taking minifigures and putting all the time and effort and money into those, and as a result, the sets themselves and the builds were suffering in quality. What is your experience regarding that?
Very recently, Harry Potter's a big one, but it's probably because they put a lot of their budget into it. It helped that it took a break, but then also, I think the minifigures were very, very good, as well as the sets. The new Hogwarts Express was spectacular. The new Great Hall was such a major upgrade looking back from the 2010 version. And I think at least in that theme, there was no, we're going to compromise the build of the set for the minifigures, or we're not going to compromise the minifigures for the build. Overwatch is another good example, I think. I think that the builds for the two that I have, Dorado Showdown and Reinhardt and Diva, are good. That Reinhardt is very good.
I've mixed feelings, but continue.
I've been modding it. I gave it knees, and I'm trying to do some stuff to it.
Oh, okay. That's why I usually stray away from modding my sets. Not because I disapprove of it, by no means, but just because when I'm discussing the different qualities of different things, I'm trying to discuss what was released and what is stock so that everyone is on the same page. Because if someone makes a modification and we're talking about it, we're on two different pages because they judge it based off their modification.
But I've lived with that set without knees for for a week or so now.
Oh, yeah,
so I know what it was like beforehand. So like I know, just like I modded the Hogwarts Great Hall, and as well as the side build set as well. But I think that as they came out, they were very good. And then the Reinhardt, and Diva Mech. The Diva Mech I've had no needs to mod, and I think it's a very solid build. They certainly didn't compromise for the sake of that Diva figure when it came to that build. And I think the same can be said for the Dorado Showdown. Even though it's just a facade, it's a very well-built facade for the building. And the truck is really nice looking and well-built as well, and they didn't have to compromise those for the figures.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen based off of them. Obviously, I have Reinhardt and Diva, of course, but thank you, Lego. I have to say that because I'm not being paid by Lego to say nice things. I was very critical on Reinhardt. Anyway, so you don't believe that the quality of sets has been taken down in your experience, which, of course, admittedly, with you and BB, it is anecdotal. We must state that, of course, because it is a personal perspective that is not representative of the whole. But in your experience, you do not believe that the minifigures have diluted the quality of the builds.
No, because I have a very poor outlook on DC and Marvel as of recently, and I don't see that sacrificing the build for the minifigures because I don't think those are very good themes as they are right now. Lego is not doing the we're going to sacrifice this for that. It's we're just not going to put our 100% our all into these things. So for me, it's either you've done a really good job as a whole or you're doing a really poor job in all areas.
Okay. Fair enough. I suppose that is a... I mean, obviously, that's a way of looking at it. I don't really have a super heavy stance one way or the other. I think, obviously, Overwatch has been excellent, and I have a massive canted bias toward Minecraft, Lego Minecraft, which, again, they haven't paid me to say nice things about, but if they want to... But anyway... But no, it's like, I think that the quality of Lego Minecraft sets, I've had numerous Lego Minecraft sets. I think I'm rounding around the 10 number right now, and that is over several different years. I've only ever ended up returning or reselling one. There was one that I felt was not up to par. It was one of the earlier ones. I did not like it, and so I got rid of it. Everything else, I find, has been excellent. Lego Minecraft, in my opinion, has done a wonderful job of capturing a 3D space. I think that the builds are actually the super strong point, and the minifigures are of no significance. Now, that being the case, I can see an argument being made that that is why the Minecraft sets are so good, because they only recycle a couple of minifigures. Do you think that might have any bearing at all?
Well, I don't like Lego Minecraft. I don't like all licensed themes. And Minecraft, I have one set. I had the crafting box from 2014.
Hey, yeah, that's a good one.
But
no,
I think BB said it as well. Yeah, it is. But like, I think piecewise and stuff. But again, it's almost like a creative box that Lego puts out through just standard system, for the most part. And you've said before that it's got depth and stuff and its play sets, and I really appreciate the fact that Minecraft has majority play sets. But I guess me personally, like looking at a couple of the builds, they look fine, but it just personally doesn't appeal to me.
Okay, that's all right.
I mean, it's not bad.
That's the point of the show, to have individuals on that might not necessarily agree, but we can have a civil conversation.
But if it makes you feel any better, you've kind of sold me on maybe picking up a recent Minecraft set and seeing if it's good.
Yeah, I've had that effect on people before. I wouldn't make you buy anything you don't want to. I think that Minecraft and Lego is basically, to me, it's a perfect combination. Because Lego is bricks, Minecraft is blocks. You put them together, and the match has already been made. I remember I got a lot of flack from people back when Minecraft was originally coming out and we started playing it, for saying, "Oh yeah, this is Lego, the game," and people are like, "What? You're stupid." But then Lego Minecraft comes out, and it's such an easy swap because you're building things out of bricks, you're building things out of blocks. It's the same general premise, and that's why I can appreciate Lego Minecraft for looking blocky, because it looks like a Minecraft set and it looks like a Lego set all at the same time, and stylistically that works for both properties.
Right. Oh, the village looks cool.
Oh yeah, the village is
Looking at some
excellent.
of those, I think some of the more terrain focused ones are a little more creator box to me, just because it's a lot of building different elements on top of each other, like in game version. But like it looks a little too blocky for certain things. But I think what you said about them only recycling just a few minifigures is certainly a pro to that theme,
Mhm.
because Minecraft is more limited in its characters and NPCs and stuff.
Mhm. No, absolutely. So, regardless, to kind of summarize, you are definitely of the opinion that the amount of licensed themes that we have now is not detrimental to Lego as a whole.
Yes, it's not as bad as it was when we had Dimensions.
Really?
No, oh, there's an era from mid 2010s that is awful when it comes to licensed themes, and there's too much at that time.
Okay, so you are of the opinion there can be a too much. There can be.
There can be,
Okay, and so you
but
feel that was when Dimensions was present and we had. I mean, Dimensions was essentially a licensed theme generator.
I think Ideas was a licensed theme generator too.
Sorry, my apologies. Generator was improper wording on my part. A licensed theme recycler?
I don't know. I because Dimensions put out several things that were new licenses that were exclusive to that theme, and I think that even though that it wasn't, they didn't have their own themes. I think that there's too much there, and I'm sure that was a detriment to Lego's, I guess, revenue, because they had to purchase these themes, and it didn't
Mm-hmm.
help that Dimensions probably by the end of its lifespan was not doing well at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we ever, and then about that same time, 2014 ish, you had like Big Bang Theory become a Lego idea set.
Don't know why.
I don't either. That, and then to a lesser degree, Simpsons in that about that same era, and I still scratch my head as to why that's a theme. But I think that
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Lego, as it is right now, seems as bad as it was a couple
Mm-hmm.
years ago.
Okay. All right. So that's interesting. You and BB have instances where you do agree. However, I feel like the main disagreement is whether or not licensed themes are bad for the group, the Lego group, the company. Because while he and people of like mind believe that they are, because the minifigures are aimed at a specific demographic, collectors, and the sets might not be up to par, and there's a recycling happening, you and people of like mind believe that no, they just need to potentially take some breaks with some themes and look further into the source material to find things that they can adapt.
Yes, I also think that licensed themes are a great gateway for younger kids to get into Lego.
Really?
Uh, my personal story is a testament to that. Lego Star Wars, Harry Potter, and Indiana Jones were my three big themes when I was younger, and I don't think without, like I said, Hogwarts Castle from 2007, or the Lord of the Rings theme getting me into mock pages would. Without those, I don't think I'd be where I am at with Lego. Because since then, I've branched off to many different themes and to older stuff that is Lego's own intellectual properties since then.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they are a great gateway if done right.
Interesting. That is a point I had not heard before. Okay. Now, as we start to kind of wrap up here, there is one more point I would like to inquire with you. And that is pertaining to the accuracy of Lego licensed themes when they pertain to video games and movies, more specifically films. Because one of the grievances that BB had was that they do not do enough to be accurate to the source material. He had recently bought, I believe, Kylo Ren's shuttle. Don't quote me on that. It was a Kylo
I
Ren
think
ship.
that was.
Yeah, and he had grievances with it because it lacked the accuracy and potential functionality from the source material, and he felt that was a substantial detriment because when individuals get these sets, they expect it to be a good adaptation of whatever the source material is. Do you share this opinion, or do you feel that they have some wiggle room to work with, LEGO designers?
I think that Lego has part wiggle room. Looking back on the Force Awakens wave, I remember looking back on them, and I think a lot of the vehicles and stuff were relatively, for the most part, accurate to it. And the biggest problem with Kylo Ren shuttle, I think, was just the color. But whereas if you look at something like the First Order Special Forces TIE Fighter, I'm looking at it right now, as well as Poe's X-Wing Fighter, those are very accurate to what you see on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that to say that from one example of just a set not looking exactly like it does in the film is a poor thing to say for the sake of everything else in that wave.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that the Millennium Falcon, I mean, of course, you're going off a previous model, is a very good representation of what it was in the film. I mean, they have the correct radar dish for it on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the First Order Transporter, while I don't think is a great design, I think does look very close to what it was in the film. So I don't think that Lego has a translation problem with the films when they make sets based on those things. Like Last Jedi as well has some very accurate ships and stuff to that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's a couple of examples. For example, Kylo Ren's shuttle as an example of that. But I think that as a whole, they're good representations of what you see on screen.
Okay. All right. Now, of course, there are instances where that I'm sure is and isn't the case, but for everyone listening, for the sake of conversation and the flow of discussion, we're going to go ahead and just not look like this is a very in-depth conversation that I feel we've only scratched the surface of because there is so many statistical points to be made, there is data to acquire, there are lists to be made, there are just so many things to factor in. So just keep that in mind. This is a very in-depth conversation. So fair enough. That works. I'm personally of the opinion that most of the things I've interacted with have been perfectly reasonable, especially with Overwatch and Minecraft. Minecraft, however, is doesn't have as strict a framework. So, regardless. I think that about says everything we can for now. We will go ahead and get into the questions. So if anyone in the YouTube live chat has any questions for Henry, go ahead and ask them right now. And Henry, if you were to sit down and have a conversation with BB, what would be your main point to him to attempt to get across, or to anyone who is of the opinion that LEGO licensed themes are going to be a detriment to the LEGO group in the long run?
Okay. I don't think that licensed themes are inherently bad. And I don't think as a whole they are going to be a detriment to the company as a whole, even in the long run. I do think, though, that however they can be improved. There's a lot of things that I don't like about, at least especially currently with licensed themes, that can be done and can be fixed. And I think that there is going to always be room for licensed themes as well as intellectual properties or their own personal properties to coexist at certain eras and stuff. I think now, for example, would be a perfect time to bring back a castle theme or a pirates theme, as there is nothing in the realm of licensed themes that is going to compete with itself with that. Like, no Pirates of the Caribbean things are coming out, no Lord of the Rings sets are coming out right now. And I think that in certain eras of Lego, that you can have licensed themes coexist with like their own properties without any issues. And they're not a bad thing. And I think that they can get better, but as they are right now, I don't think it's going to be in the long run a detriment.
Okay. Fair enough. In that case, let's go ahead and get into some questions, starting off with Sakota. I mean, if that's cool with you, do you want to get into...
Oh, yeah, I'd love to do questions.
Awesome. All right, so Sakota asks, what superhero set would you like to see? Which superhero do you think should have more representation? And what license do you think LEGO should adapt?
Oh boy. All right. So I've got one for the superhero set already, and I've wanted this forever. I want a Daily Planet set for Superman.
Hmm.
I want a new Superman first and foremost. I don't care what. I just want a new one, and I want some of his supporting characters like Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen represented as figures.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't care about the villain. For you can put whoever in that, but I want a Superman heavy focus set um, that has an emphasis on his ensemble cast as well. So
Hmm.
that would be the set I want in a perfect world. What was the next question? It was what property I'd like to see adapted.
Which superhero do you think should have more representation, and then which license do you think Lego should adapt?
Oh, okay. So I think Superman should have more representation. Superman is the figurehead of DC, and I think that with proper marketing and stuff, you could make him as equal to Batman as he is right now. And I'm sure that if I said that, we get an oversaturation of Superman, and I want that to stop. But I think as is, I want more representation from him because he is a character that is ingrained in our popular culture for years now. That
Hmm.
is so important to, I think, culture as a whole that needs to have more of an emphasis.
Hmm. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then which license that Lego has not adapted and is not adapting now would you like to see them do so to?
Oh man. That's interesting. Let me think. I think that maybe I'd like to see. I'd say probably Nintendo. I know that's something everybody wants. I wouldn't mind seeing some of that because I'm not in the realm of wish listing for new license themes currently, but I'd like to see that. I think Lego could do a lot with Nintendo's properties,
Hmm.
and I think that those two would go very well hand in hand on a creativity level because a lot of their worlds are so imaginative that I think they could translate really well with Lego.
Hmm.
So just from the top of my head, not thinking about that question, I'd say Nintendo properties.
Okay. I know that is a popular desire for Lego fans. I know that he probably isn't here right now, mainly because he's handling Brick Fair, Alabama, I believe. But good friend Kevin A. Hinkle, the man, the myth, the
Mm.
legend, he regularly pines for Lego Nintendo, and I understand why. I think that'd be interesting. Although I do have to wonder if they were to make a classic Mario set, would they make it 3D or 2D?
Oh, I'd say probably 3D, and then maybe as a mini build, some sort of 2D thing.
Okay, I can see that.
I think that 3D Mario, like you said with Minecraft, probably would translate better in sets. You can make a fuller play set and stuff
Hmm.
with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, floor is still open for questions. We'll take a few more before we wrap up. In the meantime, I have a few. Do you believe there is any licensed theme that Lego should not have adapted? And if so, would you have cut it? And is there any present that you would cut?
I think that Big Bang Theory should never have been a property by Lego. More so than Simpsons. I already disagree with that one, but I think Big Bang Theory is such an inappropriate theme for Lego to adapt because it does not agree and conform to their sensibilities as a company, just in the way in the humor and the content of that show. And I think that it would have been better if they completely cut that out for like it was a mistake, I think. Sorry
Hmm.
to whoever made that idea set, but it was a mistake.
I don't think they're too worried. Yeah, I can give a pass to Simpsons, honestly, because
I can too because those builds were good.
not only were the builds good, there are portions of The Simpsons which do appeal to a younger audience. I know that when I was younger, one of my favorite movies was the Simpsons movie. I think, and I still think it is absolutely hilarious. Still think it's a good movie, but I can kind of give it a pass. Also,
I guess I can too because I appreciate it now when I was now because I was not into it when those things came out. But
mhm.
I look at clips and it's quite amusing. But
Oh
I
yeah,
guess I could give that a pass as well. There's certain things for sure.
oh yeah, no, absolutely. And Sakota, I would legitimately take a Lego World 1-1 from Super Mario Brothers if it weren't too expensive and set it on fire just to convey my feelings on World 1-1. Most people are not going to understand that reference, but I will eventually get the Twitch stream clips on this channel. I swear it.
All right.
I digress. Is there any
And then,
original theme that you're really, really into?
um, Ninjago, I think with the Ninjago movie that came out is what really got me into it. I'll tell you what, I think the Lego Ninjago movie is one of the best themes that Lego has produced in recent years.
I can agree with this.
And I am so in those. I've got the Green Ninja Mech Dragon, I have the Destiny's Bounty, and I have Ninjago City.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm getting the Fire Mech soon. I got that on a crazy deal on Bricklink.
Oh, that's...
And,
I have all of those, and they are immaculate. Especially Ninjago City. Ninjago City, if it weren't for Liwa Mata from Bionicle from 2001, Lego City would be my favorite Lego set, and it wouldn't be a close contest.
wow, it's a wonderful, wonderful build. And I think that while it's not a licensed theme, is a very good example of really good minifigures and spectacular builds being able to coexist together, because I think that all of the minifigures in the Lego Ninjago movie are solid.
Yeah, they are excellent.
I really like that. And then I like Castle. I was on a kick of classic Castle a while back, and I ended up getting a bunch of Black Falcon Knights. I wouldn't mind seeing some sort of revival from that. Yeah.
Well, they already have a knight in armor with Reinhardt, so no. Just saying.
Hey, Reinhardt's a cool guy. I'm telling you what, he's on my desk right now. Mods,
Same.
And he's pretty great.
I'm just saying, Lego. If you want to make another Lego set based off a map, Eichenwald is a very good option.
Hey, Lego, how about you make a castle theme where they all pilot like cool mechs and stuff, but it's still more traditional. Like, you take the best part of the Nexo Knights and make some more grounded-looking mechs.
Oh, heck
in that
yeah.
style of Reinhardt. We could do. I bet that would sell pretty well. I bet that'd be cool.
Oh yeah, no, I would love to see that. Legitimately, I think that would be so good. All right, we have a few more questions, and then we're gonna go and wrap up. Dark Nova
Cool.
3529 asks thoughts on Lego DC superhero girls.
Oh wow, that kind of slipped my mind. I don't think that it was great. I know that the DC superhero girls theme from DC, from their other products and stuff, is doing well, but I think that they were trying to compete with both DC superheroes and Friends. And I can see wherein they were thinking, okay, what if we took these two things and meshed them together? It would make money. I don't think that it was great, because I don't think those sets were great, and I don't know if that's necessarily what... Like, there's no, I don't think, market, at least in Lego, where too many people want that, I don't think. I just don't think that was a great move. Just spitballing and thinking of it. Oh my goodness, that meme.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just queuing up for the the question we have here. But
okay.
Yeah, but no, continue.
I don't know. I just don't think that those two themes gel well, and that's not to say that girls don't like DC superheroes and boys don't like Friends themes. I'm telling. I wish that like I'd purchased some of the older Friends and Elves sets, but I just don't know if that was such a great thing to merge together. At least with the current market and with the way they play test and things. Because I don't even know if DC Superhero Girls is doing spectacularly outside of probably those DVDs and stuff.
I don't know if it's even still a theme. I have not heard anything about it
I don't
recently.
think it is. I'm pretty sure it ended. I don't know. But like it was fine, I guess. I don't think it was a very good decision though to produce those, because I don't think they were very good builds.
You know, something I'm interested in seeing with the release of the Lego Movie 2 is whether or not there is a boom in popularity of sets containing the mini dolls.
You know, I'm wondering that too. I'm cautiously optimistic about that movie.
You're in a very small group of people that are cautiously optimistic instead of pessimistic.
Oh, see, well, I'm just a fanboy that'll go to see every single Lego movie, even if it's a good cough cough Lego Ninjago movie. It broke my heart. It broke my heart. Those sets are so good. That movie's not.
Yeah, it really isn't. Eh, all right. Well,
Anyway,
two more questions. Follis
okay.
asks, speaking of Liwa Mata, LJ, how do you feel that Liwa gear function is the current bonkle meme? So, I'll go ahead and put my contribution to that on screen. For anyone unaware, Liwa Mata. Okay, so Liwa Mata, my favorite Lego set of all time. I have gotten to live to a point in time where my favorite Lego set has become a meme. And at first, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, A, what did I do wrong in life to not be the one that started this? And B, how can I get in on this? Because if I cannot, I won't be able to look at myself in the mirror or look at my beautiful Miru hanging atop my shelf ever again if I don't get in on this. So I went ahead and I made a tweet. When you're a lumberjack and it's your first day on the job, and it's Liwa just swinging up and down because it's his first day on the job and he doesn't know how to properly be a lumberjack. So
That's a top tier meme.
I love it. I'm very happy. I'm glad to be alive during this time. I love being able to get in on Bionicle memes because obviously my entire online presence is predicated on Bionicle. So, and Friendly Oats, trust me, this is not my new low. To me, this is a new all-time high. So, in any case, I'm very, very happy. Regardless. Okay, so last question. We're gonna go ahead and make this from Green Tornado. And they ask, Lego friends or elves?
For me personally, I guess elves. It's the fantasy element to it is really great, and I really regret not buying some of those playsets.
Mm-hmm.
Friends, I also like because it's giving us something that City is not giving us, and that is civilian buildings and infrastructure, which is sorely lacking.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but I'd pick elves over that. Those like tree houses and the castles and stuff looked really, really, really nice.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, that about squares everything away. Like I offered to BB, Henry, I will let you take the floor to have any final statement on the subject that you'd like. So the floor is yours.
All right. Licensed themes. I think that there's a absolutely necessary space for them, and I don't see anything inherently wrong with them. I don't think as they are right now they're a detriment, but I think that if Lego doesn't step up their game in certain departments, specifically Marvel and DC, then there might be a problem in the future. But I think that they have absolute merit and are a wonderful gateway for people to get into Lego. And I personally have licensed themes to thank for getting me into Lego. So thank you, Harry Potter, Star Wars, and Indiana Jones.
All right. Okay, well, in that case, also, as I offered to BB, Henry, I would like to extend to you an open invitation to come back on the show later in the year, as it starts getting to the end of the year, so November, December-ish. See where Lego is during this year, and compare and contrast and see if your opinions have changed any throughout the year based on the current product lineup during those 2 months.
Cool, awesome. I appreciate that. And I'm sure if Lego Batman, DC Superheroes has anything to say, I'm sure it'll change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very potentially. All right, in that case, Henry, is there anywhere on social media you would like people to follow you at?
You can find me on Eurobricks. I am sometimes in chats there talking about certain things. You can find me there sometimes. And I'm on YouTube but it's Henry Bricklider is my channel name. I post sometimes. So if you want to see some of my videos, you can. And that's about it.
Okay. Do you want a link to your Twitter account as well?
I don't really post on Twitter, but I guess if you wanted to, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. In that case, links to those will be in the description below. Obviously, I recommend checking him out, checking his channel out, because he's up and coming, new to the community, really getting into things. And I think everyone should do their best to support content they enjoy and help everyone really enjoy being a part of the LEGO community. So, okay, Henry, thank you so very, very much for taking the time today. I really appreciate you being here to discuss this.
Thank you so much for having me on. I didn't expect this to ever happen. This was really awesome.
Absolutely. All right, well, in that case, thank all of you. I thank all of you for being here today to listen to the show, be it the live version or the recorded one. So once again, thank you so very much. This has been the Eljay Johnsen Show, which airs every single weekend, every Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget to head on over to Twitter, where there are updates and guest announcements every single Tuesday. And sweet, sweet memes just like this one. I swear, it's a fun time. You can check that out over at the Eljay Johnsen on Twitter. And if you have any questions you want to send me over the week, make sure to head on over to my email, eljayjohnsen@gmail.com. Remember, that's JOHNSEN. All right, that covers it. Everything's been taken care of. Thank you all so very much for listening. Henry, thank you once again. And farewell. Have a wonderful day.